Before we dive in, I just want to stress that it's important that you don't get overwhelmed with the amount of tools you use. You don't need to have 20 to-do list applications that you try or 5 different calendar applications. In fact, we're going to focus on the most basic of tools in this session. We're going to focus on email, we're going to focus on your calendar, we're going to focus on Todoist as a task manager because that's the one I use and how we can use it to build that framework. So let's just dive right in. So let's talk about email management first because that's going to be where a lot of your inputs and your information comes from. That's where overwhelm can really set in. Now, one of the things I want to dive in before I talk about the actual strategies that you can apply to, let's say Gmail, which is what we're going to be using, is that you don't want to use your email application as a to-do list. And there's a big reason for that. Number one, it's not designed for that. And number two, you are going to get constant influxes of information from other people. So you can't get real focused work done that you've designed. It's always going to be interrupted by other people's things or other people's stuff. So what I'm going to do is show you how to transition stuff from email into your to-do list application. And I'm also going to show you how to know when to respond to certain emails at certain times. So you can set up a nice little framework that keeps your inbox clean and yet allows you to make decisions as to when you're going to deal with certain emails at certain times. So what you're seeing now is a typical Google email or Gmail screen. And this is my inbox. Now, I've only got a handful of emails in here, and I hope you do too. There's a reason for that. The reason you don't want to have a lot of emails in your inbox is that the inbox really doesn't tell you anything. You haven't categorized your email in any way, shape, or form, so you'll end up scanning instead of actually executing when it comes to email. So one of the biggest things I strongly encourage you to do is to get things out of your inbox and make a decision with it, kind of like we did with the strike-through system. But we're in the digital realm now, so you're going to have to do it a little bit differently. I'm telling you not to keep your email in your inbox. Well, where do you keep it then? Well, this is where you create several folders, and I've only created several as in 5. And you can see over here I've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Now, it's important that you create a numerical indicator in front of them. So put like 1 is Monday if that's when you start your week, or maybe you start your week a different day. But sort them so that they're in order. And what you do is when you look at your email and you decide you're not going to do anything with it. So let's say I'm looking at this email from Pat Flynn, and I want to look at it at a different day. I don't want to deal with it today. I want to look at it, say, on Thursday. I just drag it over to the Thursday folder, and it will go there. I see an email from Gary Vaynerchuk, and I'm going to read that maybe on Wednesday, so I drag it to Wednesday. Now, if today is Wednesday, then you're going to want to drag it to, then you'll be dealing with it today. If it is Thursday and you're dragging it to Wednesday, then you're going to deal with it the next week. So this is a great way to organize your email in an effective, simple, flexible, and durable way, so that way you're not stuck wading through your inbox each and every day. Now finally, I want to show you, if you've decided you want to take action on this later, how to move this to your task management application of choice. Now, many task management applications have emails that are associated with them, and Todoist is one of them, and that's the one I use. So you can see I'm going to read all these emails at some point. So I'm going to forward this to Todoist. Now, there's 2 ways that you can do this. Number one is you can forward the email to the email that Todoist has given you. And there I've created a Google contact called Todoist Inbox, and I can send it that way. And if the other way you can do it is, you can see there is a little box that's here now that I'm looking at a message that says add to Todoist. So if I click on that, I can actually add it to Todoist, and I'll put read daily roll up. And of course, it's going to be when I'm in reading mode, and it will probably take me 5 minutes to read it. And I'm going to put it, and you can see the @ symbol creates labels, and the project symbol calls up the hashtag calls up my projects, and it's going to be for professional use. And I can put the day on it. So if I'm going to read this, let's say on a Thursday, and then I add the task, and it shows up there. The bottom line is you've got 2 simple strategies that you can use to manage your email. Either work from within email and start to move things Monday to Friday, like these numbered folders that I've created. And the other thing you can do is move it to your task manager of choice, in this case, Todoist. So now let's dive into the calendar. And the calendar is really important as a overall tool that you're going to use with productivity because it's a framework in and of itself. So what I want to do now is show you some calendar tactics in the digital space. And we're going to use Google Calendar. Now you can use this in Outlook Calendar as well. So no matter what I'm showing you here, you can apply these principles to a tool like BusyCal on the Mac or Outlook Calendar. And again, these will translate over to mobile as well. All right, so what you see here now is my Google Calendar. And it looks very barren. Well, that's because I've turned everything off. But if I actually pull up things like my family, personal schedule, you can see all of a sudden I've got some appointments in here. So I've got my exercise habit, which I talked about. And notice it's a consistent time if you go to the next week. And I've actually got it showing up every single day. Yep, I'm leveling up starting in late October. And then I've got family time scheduled because that's when I want to spend time with my family. And you can see that these create nice little boundaries where I won't be working. But let's talk about creating that themed idea of your calendar. So we want to create some daily themes. So what you want to do is you want to go to settings. So if you go to calendars, I can actually create a new one. And we're going to call this Mike's Daily Themes. So I create the calendar. Now, as you can see, left-hand side here, that it pops up as a new calendar. Now, I'm going to actually create my daily themes in here, but I want to make it so that Mondays are my administrative day. So I'm going to call this administrative day. And what I want to do is I want to make it happen starting on the 31st of October. It's going to be an all-day event. And I'm going to make it repeat every Monday, never going to end, none of that stuff. And I will make it red. There's no need to do this, to change anything else, other than to make sure that you are available, make sure you're shown as available, but then further, make sure you change the calendar so it's not your default calendar. Make sure you change it to your daily theme calendar. That's why it's important to name it that way. And then you hit save, and boom, there it is, administrative day. And you can see that that's going to show up every single day that's a Monday. And you do this for every other day of the week that you have. So Tuesday will be the same day, Wednesday, and that's going to show up right at the top of your calendar. So that way you see it. So the other thing you can do is you can have monthly themes. So if I'm going to focus on my Skillshare class for this month, then what I'm going to do is say for the month of October, and you don't need to worry about, syntax or anything like that. No one else is really going to see this but you. So it's kind of like your journal entry. You don't really need to, if you want to use shorthand or something like that, you can. Make sure it goes for your monthly themes calendar. I'm going to make it maybe a different color so it stands out. Make sure you're available. You don't want to be focusing on that alone. You want to be able to have other people book with you. And then I hit save, and there it is. Bright, staring at me. I know what I need to work on this month, and that's my overarching focus. And the great thing about daily themes is that when you use daily themes, like my administrative days, which you can see here, I can look at the administrative day and say, oh, it's Monday, it's administrative day. Well, what tasks should I work on that are administrative? Well, what's my focus for this month? Oh, it's the Skillshare class. Okay, great. Let me look at all the administrative tasks that I need to do for the Skillshare class. So you're giving yourself this nice path. So in my over a decade of working in the productivity space, Todoist is the one tool that's really stuck with me for the longest time. I've tried a lot of different task management applications, and that's really what Todoist is. It's a task management application that fits with the model that I'm talking about. It's simple, it looks clean, so it's not going to be overwhelming, which I really love about it. And it's where I put all my tasks, where you can put all your tasks. It's flexible in that it works on the web. It's web-based, but you can also use it locally on your Mac or on a Windows machine, as well as mobile apps, which are great. And it's durable. Let's look at projects. So the reason I like projects is because they are how we traditionally work. But I don't always like to work by projects. So what I do is I have labels set up as well. And you can see in the labels, I've got several different ones, and they're categorized by 5 different categories. I'll get back to that in a second. But projects are tiered. You can actually indent your projects 4 levels. But what I recommend you do is you create several different roles for yourself. So your top level projects should be roles. So you can see mine are personal, productivityist, and professional. And then underneath that, you place your other tiers of projects below that. Labels are where the real money is in Todoist, though, because that's how we tend to work. It's working by mode. Remember I talked about mode-based work in one of the introductory lessons. This allows me to work by the different types of modes. And then the filters, of course, combine time and labels and even projects. And I don't recommend you have too many filters. In fact, the way I like to kind of scale these are less filters, maybe a few more labels, and then go nuts with the projects if you need to. But I love the fact I can get my emails in here. I love the fact I can capture websites into Todoist. And I love the fact I can really personalize Todoist to make it work for me. And if you're going to start out with any labels, start off with those themed day labels that we're going to work on in the big project, and then take it from there. So I've shown you how to do this digitally, but you don't need to take the framework and only use it in the digital space. In fact, why don't I show you how to do this in paper, good old-fashioned paper, because it works there too. What you're seeing here is my actual to-do list and the way I categorize it. So that way when I'm transferring it from the digital space, it can actually work on paper and vice versa. So at the top, I put MAPS, and it says mode, action, project, and then the S, which I can't put in there right now, says schedule. So I can actually categorize this way. And it translates nicely to an app like Todoist because the mode is equal to the label, the action is equal to the task, the project is equal to, well, the project, and the schedule is equal to the date that you can put in Todoist. So I'll put things in here like the mode would be, let's say, email. So that's a mode. And the action would be send Jenny. And you want to put that verb in there, email for X. Let's just put for X in here. And then the project would be, let's say, coaching, because that's the project it falls under. And then I could put when I want to do that. Now this is just my daily list, so I don't have to put a schedule in there unless I want to do it in the morning. I might put AM, or if I want to do it in the evening, I might put PM. And so what this does is it allows me to look at my tasks and group them by the different modes that they're in. So if there's another admin task, and I could say that that has to do with sign agreement, because I have to do that, and that's related to the podcast project as well, and I don't need to do that at a particular time of day, what I can do is I can then group my tasks by the admin mode, and I might do those on a Monday, let's say, or I could group them by the project, so I might do both podcast project things. And then when I move these to Todoist or wherever I'm doing it really, I can actually move them and the label equals the email, the action equals the tasks, the project equals the project, and the schedule equals the schedule. So if you want to work strictly on paper, you can do this. If you want to work in Todoist, you can do it. But this is a simple framework as to how this works, and it allows me to work by 3 different categories. You'll never work by action, but you can work by mode, by project, or by schedule.